Think you know World War II? Sure, you've heard about D-Day, Stalingrad, and the big names, but that's just the highlight reel. Beneath those epic events are stories so strange and profound they sound like fiction. Secret weapons, unsung heroes, and moments that could have changed everything. Today we're diving into the forgotten, the bizarre and the chilling what-ifs that textbooks skip. This is the history in the margins. The stories that reveal the true complexity and humanity of a war that touched nearly everyone on Earth. Get ready to have your understanding of World War II turned upside down. Let's get started. In 1938, Time magazine made a decision that would echo through history. They named Adolf Hitler as their Man of the Year. To many, this was shocking, almost unthinkable. How could a publication put such a notorious figure on its cover, seemingly elevating him above all others? But the truth is, this wasn't an honor in the traditional sense. It was a stark warning to the world. Time's Man of the Year title is given to the person who, for better or worse, has had the greatest impact on the world stage. It's about influence, not admiration or approval. In 1938, Hitler's aggressive moves, like the annexation of Austria, known as the Anschluss, and the signing of the Munich Agreement, completely reshaped the map of Europe. These actions set the world on a collision course with war, and the consequences would soon be felt everywhere. The magazine's cover didn't glorify Hitler or his actions. Instead, it was a chilling depiction of the threat he posed. The artwork showed Hitler as a dark, sinister figure, manipulating the world like a puppet master, pulling the strings of chaos and fear. The article inside was not a celebration, but a dire alarm. Time called Hitler the greatest threat to democracy and freedom, warning readers of the dangers ahead. The editors wanted the world to understand the gravity of the situation. Their goal was to inform, to urge vigilance, and to make sure no one underestimated the darkness gathering in Europe. Time's Man of the Year has often sparked controversy. Hitler wasn't the first or last divisive figure to receive the title. Stalin and Khomeini were also chosen, reflecting the magazine's commitment to documenting influence, not endorsing it. The title is about who shaped the year, for better or worse. It's a mirror held up to history, not a pedestal. Even today, the headline, Hitler Man of the Year, provokes outrage and debate, but understanding the context is crucial. Time's 1938 issue was a prescient piece of journalism, sounding the alarm and urging the world to pay attention before catastrophe struck. To truly understand history, we have to look beyond the headlines and confront uncomfortable truths. It's not always easy, but it's necessary. Sometimes the most important stories are the ones that force us to face the darkness head-on, so we can learn, remember, and never repeat the mistakes of the past. Now for something truly bizarre. Project X-Ray, the US military's audacious plan to weaponize bats during World War II. In the midst of global conflict, military minds were desperate for any edge, no matter how unconventional. The idea was as wild as it sounds: attach tiny, time-delayed incendiary bombs to thousands of bats, load them into canisters, and drop them over Japanese cities at dawn. As the bats awoke, they'd seek shelter in the wooden eaves and attics of buildings. Then the bombs would ignite, sparking countless fires across the city. This strange scheme was actually the brainchild of a Pennsylvania dentist named Little S. Adams, who pitched it directly to the White House. To his surprise, President Franklin D. Roosevelt approved the project in 1942, eager for any innovation that might help end the war. Engineers and scientists got to work, designing special canisters to keep the bats in hibernation during flight and release them mid-air. But the logistics of handling thousands of live bats, each carrying a tiny bomb, quickly became a nightmare. The animals were unpredictable, and the technology was untested. In one infamous test, some armed bats escaped prematurely and set fire to a U.S. airbase hangar, causing significant damage. Ironically, this accident proved the concept could work, just not in the way anyone intended. Despite these setbacks, further tests on mock Japanese villages showed real promise. The bat bombs could potentially ignite more fires than conventional incendiary devices, especially in cities built largely of wood and paper. But as the Manhattan Project gained momentum and the atomic bomb became a reality, military priorities shifted dramatically. The Bat Bomb project was soon overshadowed by the race for nuclear weapons. Project X-Ray was quietly canceled, and the Bat Bombs never saw combat. The canisters and equipment were left to gather dust, a strange footnote in the history of military innovation. It's a reminder that in times of war, even the most outlandish ideas can receive serious attention, and sometimes the line between genius and absurdity is thinner than we think. What if the Nazis had built the atomic bomb first? Imagine a world where Hitler's regime held the ultimate weapon, changing the course of history forever. It's a terrifying what if that nearly became reality. The mere possibility sent shockwaves through Allied command, fueling a desperate race against time. Germany's uranium club boasted some of the world's top physicists, including Nobel laureate Werner Heisenberg. They had access to crucial resources, like Norway's heavy water, and cutting-edge laboratories. The Nazis poured significant effort into unlocking the secrets of nuclear fission, hoping to create a weapon that would guarantee their dominance. But the program was plagued by infighting, underfunding, and Nazi leadership's obsession with quick wonder weapons. Conflicting priorities and a lack of unified vision slowed progress at every turn. Many brilliant Jewish scientists, forced out by Nazi persecution, fled Germany. Their expertise and knowledge fueled the Allied effort instead, giving the Manhattan Project a decisive edge. Allied sabotage, like the daring commando raids on Norway's heavy water plant, crippled the Nazi program. These missions were risky, but they succeeded in denying the Nazis the materials they desperately needed. Debate lingers over whether Heisenberg deliberately slowed progress or simply struggled with technical challenges. Secret recordings made by the Allies suggest the Germans were far behind, lacking both the resources and the understanding to build a bomb. When the Allies finally captured the German reactor at Haigerloch, they found it primitive and non-functional, a far cry from a working atomic bomb. The world dodged a nuclear bullet, not by luck, but by a mix of Allied sabotage, Nazi incompetence, and the regime's own hateful policies. The nightmare of a Nazi atomic bomb was narrowly averted, shaping the world we know today. Resistance isn't always about guns. Some of the bravest opponents of the Nazis were LGBTQ+ individuals, targeted for annihilation. The Nazis criminalized homosexuality, arrested thousands, and forced gay men to wear the pink triangle in concentration camps. Despite brutal persecution, many resisted, helping each other hide, forging documents, and maintaining secret networks. Some, like Dutch resistance fighter Willem Arandius, took direct action, sabotaging Nazi operations at the cost of their lives. Their stories were erased for decades, but their courage was a vital part of the fight against fascism. Remembering them isn't just about honoring the past, it's about understanding the true scope of resistance and the fight for human dignity. On the Eastern Front, war blurred the line between civilian and soldier. Enter Sergei Aleshkov, age 6, the youngest official soldier in the Red Army. Orphaned by the Nazis, Sergei was adopted by a Soviet regiment. He became their mascot, but also a real contributor, delivering messages, boosting morale, and even saving lives during bombardments. He once spotted enemy spies and alerted his unit, earning a medal for bravery. Sergei's story is exceptional, but many children became sons of the regiment, forced to grow up fast in the chaos of war. He survived, built a life after the war, but his childhood was forever marked by conflict. His story reminds us that war's victims and heroes aren't always adults with rifles. Sometimes they're the smallest among us. D-Day's success wasn't just about force, it was about deception. Enter the Ghost Army artists, engineers, and actors waging war with rubber and sound. Their mission? Convince the Germans that the real invasion would hit Calais, not Normandy. They set up inflatable tanks, fake airfields, and used sound trucks to mimic an entire army on the move. Radio operators sent out phony messages, all designed to fool German intelligence. The ruse worked. Even after the Normandy landings, Hitler kept his best troops waiting for an attack that never came. The Ghost Army's creativity saved thousands of lives, proving that sometimes imagination is the most powerful weapon of all. Sometimes the smallest flaw can sink the mightiest machine. Case in point, German submarine U-1206 lost to a malfunctioning high-tech toilet. In April 1945, the captain or an engineer botched the complex flushing sequence, flooding the sub with seawater and sewage. The water hit the batteries, releasing poisonous chlorine gas. The crew had to surface, right into the path of British patrols. Under attack and unable to dive, the captain scuttled the sub. Most of the crew survived, but the U-boat was lost. a state-of-the-art war machine, defeated not by enemy fire, but by its own plumbing. Sometimes, history's most embarrassing moments are also its most memorable. Not all hidden stories are quirky or heroic. Some are pure horror, like Japan's Unit 731, a secret lab in Manchuria where doctors committed atrocities in the name of science. Prisoners, mostly Chinese civilians, were infected with deadly diseases, vivisected alive, and used as human test subjects for biological weapons. The experiments were monstrous: freezing limbs, pressure chambers, bomb tests, and more. The goal? Perfecting biological warfare. Unit 731's field tests unleashed epidemics that killed hundreds of thousands. After the war, the US granted immunity to the perpetrators in exchange for their research, covering up the crimes for decades. The victims received no justice. It's a chilling reminder of how the pursuit of power and knowledge can become pure evil, and how easily the truth can be buried. From bat bombs to rubber armies, history is filled with stories that defy belief and challenge our understanding. From magazine covers to secret horrors, World War II's hidden stories reveal a conflict far stranger, more complex and more human than we often imagine. History isn't just battles and dates, it's the sum of choices, brilliant, baffling, heroic, and horrific, made by ordinary people in extraordinary times. Which story shocked you most or made you see the past differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this dive into the forgotten corners of history, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Thanks for watching and supporting our journey. We'll be back soon with more stories time tried to forget. Don't be a stranger, there's always more to uncover.